Hello, everyone, and welcome back once again to the Great Scott Podcast. Today, I am joined by the adventure illusionist himself, Rich Manley. He's a magician and actor and combines his sleight of hand skills on the new Tubi series, which was just released for season two of Culture Shock, which is shot in Peru and Africa. And he's also, like I said, an actor who's also starring in the action thriller Falling Cards, which he wrote and co-directed along with Zach Ward and Justin Zagri. I'm pleased to be joined today by Rich Manley.
How you doing? I'm pretty happy to be on this podcast here with you.
Thank you so much for coming on to the program, Rich. I was actually looking at your Instagram story, and you had just led, I think, an African American gentleman up to the top of a mountain in Joshua Tree.
Yeah, so he does a lot of guiding in Kilimanjaro, and he's actually a contact for one of the episodes we're going to be filming in Kilimanjaro. And he's very interesting because he's very humble, but he's the son of the chief of all Maasai in Tanzania. And he's never climbed vertically or technical rock before, but he's hiked. So this was his very first roped vertical ascent of any kind of climb, and he was ecstatic about it. So it was a fun experience for me and for him too.
Now, I have to ask you, Rich, have you had anything go wrong while you were climbing in all of your climbs?
Um, Luckily, no. I mean, I've had some close calls where you're climbing and you might be on a route you don't know, and in which case, getting off the mountain has been troublesome. I've had to kind of jerry rig ways to get down and rappel off of scenarios. So there's been those kind of scenarios, but knock on wood, nothing that has been life threatening, and it can happen. So I'm blessed there.
Yeah, you hear about those people that get stuck, about that one guy who had to cut off his arm because his arm was stuck in a rock or something, I think like that, not to be like morbid or anything, but yeah.
Yes, yeah. I mean, those sort of things, they don't really go through my head as much. Most of the time,
Well, that's good.
I see. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to figure out. Okay, this is the objective. We have to climb. We have to get down. We have to get down everyone safely, myself and anyone who's with me. But I think the thing that a lot of people don't know about me is that I grew up being afraid of heights. So
Mm.
despite me climbing all these mountains and doing all these things, it was a real fear that I had to conquer and overcome, because you want to be confident when you're in the mountains, especially when you're up high, and
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't want to let that fear overcome, your ability really.
And you had just mentioned it, and I know I had mentioned it, but congratulations on the season two of Culture Shock.
Thank you. Thank you
Now,
very
for
much.
those that
Yeah.
now for those that have not seen it, can you tell us about what Culture Shock is?
Yeah. So basically, Culture Shock is it started many many years ago. It actually started with my grandfather. My grandfather was a surgeon, and in the 40s they taught surgeons sleight of hand to be better with their finger dexterity. So he learned sleight of hand, and he would go to all these different remote regions of the world to do seminars and learning medicinal practices. And then during those times, he'd have his own outings where he'd go either deep into the Amazon jungle, or he'd be out in Japan or Tibet, Mongolia, and he would meet all these communities. And he found that doing magic for them was a way to bridge that cultural gap. And it allowed him to get deeper into the community, and they taught him a lot of their traditions and ways of life. So as a kid, I'd go into his study, which is this almost like Indiana Jones esque study that he had. And I'd see all these findings from all these things around the world that he had. And that was when he taught me, when I snuck in one day, he taught me my first magic trick, which was a sleight of hand card disappearance. Really, it was a manipulation, and that got me fascinated in magic. He as a person got me fascinated and inspired by travel, and that's kind of where the story took place. It took place where it's paying homage to him. He gave me this travel journal before he passed away of all the places he visited, and I said, you know what? This would be great to retrace all of those countries he visited and see what he was looking for and see what he experienced and do magic for cultures. And it was just such an extraordinary experience filming these 6 episodes for Tubi TV. And it really taught me that the key thing in all of this was human connection, and how we all kind of get along when you see something miraculous like a magic effect. It brings everyone closer together.
Being a magician yourself, do you watch Fool Us, or have you had the pleasure of meeting Penn and Teller?
I've never met Penn and Teller. The people that are on my team, they've worked with Penn and Teller. I have never personally met them, though. I know the show, and they did at one point discuss me potentially going on the show as well, my team. But I've never met them, and I hope to one day. It would be great.
Well, it's still going. I hope to see you fool them then one day.
It'll have to be something I've learned on my travels, from the
Oh
show and
yeah,
from
yeah.
people I've met.
No, so I have to ask you, I mean, being a magician, when you watch other fellow magicians, is that kind of hard to do, knowing how the trick is done? I'm sure for the most part, because I'm sure you've seen a lot of magic.
Yeah, yeah. So, that's an interesting question because I do like watching other magicians, but oftentimes, yeah, I know the method, I know how it's done. But I think what really fascinates me is how it's executed. So I like watching magicians who have this execution of the sleight of hand or the techniques that obviously most magicians know, but they create this interesting story and weave in their own personality. And I think that's what fascinates me the most. There's a handful of magicians that are lesser known magicians as well that just have extraordinary technical skills that they've practiced over the years. But combining that story to those skills, I think, is really something I'm very fascinated in.
So kind of like David Copperfield or um,
Yeah,
was it
yeah,
Lance Burton or someone like that. Yeah.
yeah. There was bigger illusions, and there's even some of the smaller, like you know, lesser known magicians, but known in the community, like Dan and Dave and Rob Zabrecki, both are
Sure.
friends of mine. And they performed at the Magic Castle, and just Rob has just an extraordinary way of presenting his character and what he's created in his story that is compelling, and it's fascinating and makes you want to watch. More so than the magic, you're watching him as a person. And then Dan and Dave are just technical artists, and they are doing all this artistry and great with their hands. And so you want to watch them because it's just this this hypnotic effect of manipulating cards, which I also find just very fascinating.
Now, reading your bio, you were a quiet, kind of reserved kid growing up, and you also loved writing. So I guess that's in a way, maybe in a way of saying your whole career has kind of been you being out of your comfort zone, would you say?
Yeah, I think that's kind of a common motif here. It's
Yeah.
I because I was kind of shy and I kept to myself. I was doing a lot of writing at home. I was writing or drawing, and most of the time I was terrorizing my brothers because I was the ringleader and taking them out into the forest and saying, "Okay, you climb the tree first. I want to see if it's safe." And I'd rig up all these harnesses of ropes and wrap them around their legs. And of course, I didn't know what I was doing when I was a kid, and cutting off their blood supply. It was like around their chest, and so I got into a lot of trouble with my parents. But yeah, I was very quiet, and I really wanted to get out of that shell, which is why I started really getting into entertainment. And I think I was using a lot of these adventure skills I learned as a kid and through my grandfather, and just wanting to be more adventurous. Really helped me to meet a lot of people in those communities. And then magic was really a way for me to just get out of my comfort zone and do tricks for even when I was a bartender and working at restaurants. It was learning to kind of make a fool of yourself, because at first when you're doing magic, it's not good. I mean, it's just you're not going to
Yeah.
be great. So you're doing a trick and I'm doing an effect, and it goes wrong, and then you have to realize, okay, it's not always going to go right. I have to cope with that, and it helped me to kind of get more confident and realize that it's okay to fail. It's okay to do something not perfectly. And then eventually, as you progress in your practice, especially being a magician, you just kind of let that go. You don't worry about failing anymore. It's just automatic, and you just do what you're going to do. If you do fail, the audience doesn't know, and you just keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So also, when you were younger, you also did martial arts as well, which
Yeah.
is also a great way to get out of your comfort zone. But you have a black belt, or you were 13 when you started, and then you got a black belt at 17, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, yeah. So I did. I started pretty young in Kempo karate, and I started doing that, and then I was fascinated by Wing Chun. I loved Bruce Lee, and I said, you
Oh
know
yeah.
what? I was like, you know what? I watched these Jet Li movies, these Bruce Lee movies, Jackie Chan, and even though I started in Kempo, I was like, okay, I really want to learn this kung fu, this the acrobatics, all that stuff, and that's when I did get my black belt around 17, and I started training with the Shaolin monks in New York City. They came over as a performance group. And that was another turning point for me because it really introduced me to culture. And it was vastly different. I mean, they came over directly from Songshan Shaolin Temple as a performance group, and they settled in Flushing, Chinatown in New York. And just experiencing kung fu with them really started to tickle that itch of, oh, I really want to travel to China. I really want to travel to some of these places outside the U.S. and see the world, and learn, some of their traditions. I mean, it's a strong tradition, kung fu, in that area, and it really kind of made me say, all right, let's. What else is there out there?
So I was going to say, I mean, you've been pretty much all over the world with culture shock and just in life general. So have you been to all seven continents so far?
Yes, yeah. So I've traveled to all seven continents. Yes.
Was it pretty unbearable in Antarctica?
Well, it's interesting about Antarctica is my uncle actually was a geologist in Antarctica, so he worked on a lot of NASA missions, and
No.
yeah, so it is a different world, I guess. I guess you should say it's like this barren white wasteland with this changing weather constantly. It's cold, but that was really, my uncle going there and bringing back rocks as a geologist as a kid. That I'd always wanted to go there, and then seeing it was just like, it was a dream come true, really.
So it is possible to bear through the cold in Antarctica in case someone
Yeah,
should ever want to do it.
yeah. I mean, it's doable, but you have to like the cold. And me coming from Massachusetts, living now in Los Angeles, I used to be all about the cold, and I could handle it. And then I, came to SoCal, and now it's like, I start going back home, and I'm like, wow, this is really cold. So I guess I've kind of got used to the nice weather here.
So something else that I had mentioned, you also wrote and co-directed this action thriller called Falling Cards. Can you tell us what it's about?
Yeah, so Fallen Cards is a post-apocalyptic themed movie, and it's about, ironically enough, it's about a magician, and this magician is performing in this Vegas-styled, uh, rebuilt world. It's this walled city, and it's rebuilt on the ideals of a Vegas-style town. And Thomas Archer, who's the main character, is the lead performing artist there, a magician, and all these things start happening, and the world starts crumbling, and there's all these factions trying to take control, and this magician finds himself caught in the middle, and basically the last hope to save a dwindling world, really. And that's kind of the premise of the movie.
Is it out right now?
It's still in production, pre-production, and we're hoping to have a release date soon. And if anyone wants to know more information on that, they can always go to any one of my websites, my Instagram, which is Rich C Manley, and then my Expedition Rich, www.expeditionrich.com. I have a lot of updates on things that I'm doing, including film. And we have a website that's coming out soon. It'll be fallencards.com. So just keep your eyes out, and there'll be updates on that.
We'll definitely post all those links down below when I go to post this website. And I just want to give one more plug to you, Rich. You're on season 2 of Culture Shock in Peru and Africa on Tubi. And
Mm-hmm.
you just mentioned your action thriller Falling Cards, which has yet to come. But I'll definitely, like I said, post the links down below. And Rich, thank you so much for coming on to the program, sir.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Please come back sometime.
I will. I will. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Thank you.